Hi, I'm Moose, a
Hi.
24-year-old guy who has plenty of close friends IRL and has perfectly acceptable social skills. I'm the type of person who used to believe that if you haven't met someone in real life, they aren't your friend. I could never trust anyone who wasn't right there in front of me. Stranger danger wasn't just a warning to me, it was a lifestyle. For this reason, I've always been hesitant to add strangers on social media, sign up to dating apps, and even gaming platforms. I use social media solely to connect with the friends I already have. Yet for some reason, VRChat has a very strange allure to me. It pulls me in with its promise of unfiltered interactions with strangers from all over the world. In a way, it's very reminiscent of a bygone era in gaming, voice chat. Back in the early days of Xbox Live, us PS2 plebs would hear stories of legendary slur combos being used as psychological warfare in Halo, as if someone hooked up Skype to their opponent's console for the sole purpose of throwing them off of their game. Only a select few PS2 players ever managed to enjoy this luxury before the 360 and PS3 drop. My introduction to the 7th gen of consoles was restricted to offline Wii games, as my internet access was severely restricted at the time. This would all change the second I graduated to COD 4 on the PS3. All of a sudden, my mind was exposed to a cacophony of insults and toxicity. Words such as the one beginning with N were unveiled before my 13-year-old ears and instantly absorbed into my vocabulary, despite the fact that neither I nor the people teaching me it held a pass for its usage. Eventually, in games such as the legendary Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, and GTA 4 Online, I learned to accept game chat as a useful tool I could exploit to hear the final word of my enemies as I beat them fair and square. Fucking hacker. You would think that because I was exposed to it at such a young age, I would take naturally to the role of being an annoying squeaker. But no, you'd be wrong. First of all, I got a deep voice at a very early age, and second, I was mostly a mute online. You see, despite being able to socialize easily in the real world, I've always had difficulty in talking to those not actually in the room with me. Even phone calls are stressful. Even recording this is a bit stressful. Maybe it's something to do with how I was raised, or the fact that it's a bit cringe to anyone who can't hear the conversation, just hearing you in your room telling your imaginary friend how he has no life. In either case, it's a bit strange how someone who uses text chat instead of his own perfectly functional mic would decide to play a game where you have to communicate with other players via voice chat only. Yes, I know sign language is a thing, but I don't understand any of it. My very first experience with VR chat happened a few years ago, in 2017, when I bought my first headset. That consisted of finding an Iron Man avatar that didn't actually reach as far as I can, going to the Great Pug, do you know the way, and then leaving because oh my god, this is way too much to handle, fuck this. Uninstall. Back then I had the luxury of a powerful gaming PC that could take on any game. VR chat was nothing. However, after that decided to commit the big die, I was left in an awkward position where I had no choice but to buy a gaming laptop. I'll talk about this in another video. As such, my return to VR has been one of ultra low graphics. Some may even consider it immersion breaking, but to me it's just as if I'd taken my glasses off. Even still, I've been facing multiple blue screens where the only questions in my mind are, why are AMD drivers so unstable all the time? Why did Acer use a CPU that thermal throttles all the way down to 2 GHz? Why does my Wi-Fi card have the authority to blue screen my entire laptop? Why do the devs of this game have the audacity to not optimize this ugly piece of shit game? Seriously, it brings me back to the early days of Minecraft Java. A game this ugly has no right to use as many resources as this does. The thing is, if you enter empty worlds or your home world, 90 FPS is nothing. Try 100 FPS. But if you enter someone's shitty overprocessed world, you will probably crash before you can find the settings window. Even worse are the avatars. How on earth in this day and age can someone's avatar be used as a weapon to crash a game? This is absolutely inexcusable in 2021. In no other game will your PC be brought to its knees because someone intentionally added way too many particle effects and shaders to their avatar. Not only this, but average run-of-the-mill avatars that just look fancy will slaughter your frame rate without mercy, and that is before you decide to start lowering the safety settings and enable more and more features of other people's avatars. Sure, you can just hide everyone's avatar, but that removes 80% of the fun of this game, and that's the worst part of this game. It's designed and marketed to be a social platform for VR users, and yet people are the biggest performance hit, and it sucks in VR because the frame rate chugs harder than a genting guitarist, and when it chugs, well, I hope you have a strong stomach. The game saving grace is the FSR mod, which allows you to use AMD's Fidelity FX on many VR games. I'm not going to give you a whole tutorial on it, as there are already plenty on YouTube, but I might link a good one in the description. Essentially, it is a much better method of upscaling from a low resolution to a high resolution, with the added bonus of sharpening and the option of only applying the effect to the center of your vision, where you'll notice it the most. This allows you to render the game at a low resolution for performance, without it looking anywhere near as ugly as it would have with traditional upscaling methods. If you are lucky enough to have an Nvidia card, you may even be able to use DLSS, but I have no experience with their cards, so good luck there. If it's possible though, you might not even notice any differences at all between running the game natively and upscaling from a low resolution. FSR does have its drawbacks, however. It's not a miracle cure. I still routinely run into performance issues with this game despite FSR, and there are some very interesting artifacts. For example, if you go into the Black Cat and look at the carpet pattern, your brain will start to freak out at all the shifting lines on the floor, an unfortunate victim of the upscaling process. Okay, alright, none of this is what you came to this video for, so enough the deal breakers. Why do I still use it? Put simply, I have never been able to connect with strangers online anywhere close to how VRChat lets you connect. My first few tries trying to get VRChat started resulted in a few game crashes mid-conversation with some actual decent strangers. I don't have any footage of this stuff because I was still trying to get everything running reliably, so you're gonna have to use your imagination here. After lowering the resolution as far as it can go, I jumped back into the Black Cat to see if any of the people I seemed to be doing well with were still there. This is when it hit me that lobbies are obviously randomized in this game. This isn't like COD where you bump into the same guys again and again and again. Feeling pretty down, I decided to start doing my typical thing of throwing physics objects around until I spotted an interesting avatar. I remember running up to him in this Persona 3 skin, shouting, "Hey, it's the transit bus driver. Sorry for all the times I knifed you." This prompted a Mexican standoff between us and my PS1 quality Glock and his ray gun. I got on pretty well with this guy and decided to stick around. Then one of his mates joined the map, a fluffy furry character. Yeah. Now, normally my reaction to furries is that of pure cringe and utter disgust, but in VRChat it just seems normal. When you have kids and way more cringy, brushy avatars running amok, it actually seems perfectly acceptable that someone would wear an avatar that isn't too dissimilar to a real-life creature. Now, this is where things get weird. I suggest anyone who actually knows me IRL to click off, because you probably aren't gonna think of me the same way once I tell you this. You see, this is the first time I realized I actually experienced phantom touch. This is when you can feel things in VR that you shouldn't be able to physically be able to feel, because they aren't actually happening IRL. It's something that requires a high level of empathy for you to naturally feel. Can you see where I'm going with this yet? Now, let me tell you a little secret about the human body. Well, to be honest, I don't know if everyone experiences this, but I definitely do. If you hold someone by the back of their head and neck and stare into their eyes, something really strange happens. It's almost like a trance. Like you can't do anything and you're basically gonna do whatever that person tells you at that point. In fact, I've only experienced this a few times. First, my prom date did it to me, which is a girl to clarify. Then one of my guy friends did it, which was even more strange and sounds hella sus now that I say it out loud. And then of course I experienced this with some girls at uni. Never did I expect that I would be experiencing this in VR with some guy in a furry costume. The next thing that happened, of course, is something that I did expect. POV. You're an American kid who has just joined a lobby of Brits and Europeans, and then you see what they're crowding around. Two grown British men staring into each other's eyes, one in a furry avatar and the other one is some anime boy. What is the first thing you should say? A. That's hella sus, bro. B. Did you say no homo? Or C. If I see a furry IRL, I'd shoot them with my AR-15. If you answered C, then congratulations! You win a free US citizenship courtesy of Barack Obama. Now, when I say kid, how old are we talking? A. 16, duh. B. 15 of course. Or C. 14. If you answered any of the above, you're wrong. This kid was 13 and owns an AR-15 and was boasting about using it to kill people just for their interests. Now this is the quality conversation I'd been missing since my COD years. He then started a convo about how he wished he could afford a VR headset. And by the way, if you want to know how I managed to do all this on a budget, stay tuned for my next video. But yeah, that was my first day in VRChat. The next day was my first time chilling in a custom world with the transit bus driver. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I think it was something to do with spirits of the sea or something. It was some kind of chill apartment by the ocean. Anyway, so we were just vibing and then this girl comes along in a typical e-girl avatar. "Oh my god," she says, "I used to have the biggest crush on you back in the day. I had the phone cover and everything." This introduced me to a part of being in VRChat that I didn't realize was a thing. People will get attracted to your avatar and want you to relive their fantasies for them. At first, she just wanted to hug and stare into my eyes, so I was like, sure, I guess. If you've been paying attention, you already know that I fucked up. The next thing she asked was if we could kiss, and you already know I couldn't say no to this now, but low-key, I hadn't had my first kiss yet, so this is very strange to say the least.
Yeah, it goes.
Hey, yo, can you choke me and then like kiss me slowly?
What?
This person will kill you.
Hold up.
If anyone like biologically stable enough to be
That's not what the fuck, man.
I like this avatar.
Just so you know, like I turned everyone's avatars off just now.
That's some fucking cool, isn't it?
I like this character. You say let me wear it. You want to choke me and then slowly kiss me? Is that what's happening?
Yo, bro, what?
Hey, Kaneki.
exactly. I don't know where to stand no more.
Hey, let's make out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh god, I should not be here. I am conversation. I don't know what to say, man.
Tell me your PP size.
No, Billy. Oh no, what's going on with you?
As for how it went, well, we got closer and closer until we no-clipped through each other's face and I actually just said the word moi. Because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Honestly, this was probably the strangest experience I've ever experienced in VR, and kinda reminds me of that scene in Scary Movie where the guy asks his girl to dress up like a guy in bed because he's secretly bi.
Put this on with it.
Ray, you are so freaky.
That's right, you know I'm freaky, girl. Go on, pull it up, pull it up. Ooh, ah. Yeah. Here, put this on with it.
I was legit sweating bullets the whole time, just hoping that no one walks into my room and sees my laptop screen. It didn't help that the ambiance of the map had knocking noises and sounds that were very similar to footsteps outside my door. I now totally get how people have entire relationships on VRChat. Your brain can feel the difference between NPCs and actual player characters. There is a certain presence they have that tricks your brain into thinking there's a whole actual person right there. I don't think I could ever do it though. It feels way too weird, but if you're into it, I will no longer judge you. Immediately after this, we took a train ride in someone's avatar. Yeah, you read that correctly. Someone had made a 1-to-1 recreation of the original Half-Life intro sequence, animations and all. After chilling for a bit more and finding out that my new friends had more in common with me than I expected, we decided to play a big game of Uno. Unfortunately, this proved to be way too big of a task for my poor laptop to handle, as there were a large number of randoms in the map with very laggy avatars. Eventually, after playing an Uno reverse card and the transit bus driver, my whole laptop crashed. Come to the realization of how simultaneously amazing the game is for being accessible, and yet how just out of reach it is for lower spec PCVR gamers. I sat down in disbelief. With the knowledge that I'll probably never be able to run this game well, I curled up and just stared at the wall. How on earth can I run Forza Horizon 4 at 60 FPS but Uno runs at 20? A card game. This leads me to my biggest fear with the VR platform. VRChat is in a very vulnerable spot right now, despite its huge popularity. Facebook are shaping up to be VRChat's demise if they ever get control of the Metaverse. And I hate using that word, by the way. VRChat has had almost zero effort put into optimizing the platform for all players. Quest users can't even access all the game has to offer, for crying out loud. The least developers can do with this infinite amount of time they think they have is to introduce level of detail, not just for the maps, but the avatars. Introduce tiers of avatar models for each avatar that load in depending on the spec of the PC being used to view it. Then each tier could have a cap on the amount of polygons, effects, and particles to avoid crashes. I know this stifles the creativity of avatar creators, but it's a million times better than not being able to see people's actual avatars. The fallback model doesn't work because who really wants to play in a world where you can only see default models? You might as well take off the headset and go outside at that point, because the real world is far more interesting than VRChat with fallback avatars. VRChat is the last bastion of hope we have that the platform of virtual reality will remain ours and not a single corporation's. If the developers don't take this threat seriously, we will all lose.